Hello guys, welcome to another video, and in this video we are going to configure WLAN or WLAN using WPA2 PSK key using the GUI. So we are going to configure a wireless LAN. In that wireless LAN or local area network, we are going to use a AP or an access point, and we're also going to use a WLC. And the WLC, it is the one that sends the commands to the APs, because it is a wireless LAN controller. So let's go ahead and start with this topology that we're going to be doing first. First, want to get a computer. Then I want to get, let's say, we are going to get a server. Then we are going to also get a smartphone over here, so a wireless smartphone. I want to get a router over here. Then I want to get the wireless devices. The one that we're going to be using for the WLC or the wireless LAN controller, it is going to be this 3504. And actually, let me just put it right here next to the server. And then I want to get a couple of access points, and we are going to be using just a lightweight access point, this one right here. Okay, so the first thing that I want to configure, oh, I forgot, we need a switch to connect all of them together, right? So my topology is going to look like this. There's going to be a wireless access point over here. Let's go ahead and just name this just a little bit like that. That's fine. Lightweight access point 2, that's fine. We are going to add a couple of IP addresses. So I want to place a couple of nodes. This one is going to be 192.168.1.1/24. Let's give it a /24. Then the controller is going to be a .2, and the server is going to be a .3. Okay, looking good. So now let's go ahead and plug everything in. So first, or actually you can just plug in whatever you want. It doesn't really matter where you start. This one is a gigabit interface, so we are going to use a gigabit interface. I believe this one also has a gigabit interface, so we are going to use another gigabit interface right here. The server doesn't, it's just a fast Ethernet, so we are going to use another fast Ethernet. It doesn't really matter. I'm just making it match just because I'm crazy like that. There we go. So now what we want to do is we want to configure, I want to configure the DHCP server over here, so we can get IP addresses to all the devices. The first one, so we are going to, before we do that, we want to configure actually an IP address over here. Like I said, this one is going to be 192.168.1.3. Subnet mask /24. Default gateway 192.168.1.1. DNS server, we don't have one right now. We can configure that later if we want to. Server says we are going to get, or actually, if you we can do a DNS server later. Let's not get that crazy. We are going to go over here into the DHCP. We want to turn it on. We want to go ahead and create a new one. So actually, let's go ahead and remove this, because this one gives you issues. Save it. We are going to be calling this Wi-Fi IP. That's fine. Default gateway is going to be the router. So 192.168.1.1. DNS, we don't have any. We are going to start at 192.168.1. Let's start at that 1.5, because I want to save another IP address, and we want to also save the IP address for the router, this wireless LAN controller. And also, if you want to add another server, we can just save the .4 for that reason. The WLC address is going to be 192.168, that 1.2. This is so that whenever this lightweight access points get an IP address, they should know where to communicate, like where to send or where to get their configuration. So they're going to know that they're going to get that configuration from the wireless LAN controller, right? So let's go ahead and add it, making sure that it is good to go. It looks good to me. It looks good to you guys. Yep. Let's go ahead. So we are good with that. We can just now close this. We are now going to go into this computer. We are going to get a DHCP IP address, see if we get one. There we go. We got it. Default gateway, subnet mask, the first IP address that was available. So that is good. Now we want to go into this wireless controller. We want to go into config. Then we want to go into management, and we are going to change this to that 2. Default gateway, if you want to, we can just configure to 192.168.1.1. That is also fine. So now what we're going to do is, since this one has this IP address, we are going to connect to it via a web browser. So we are going to go to this computer, which has an IP address. So they are in the same network. We can go to website, and it's going to be HTTP. So this one, we are going to go to this website so we can configure this wireless LAN controller. So first we are going to set it up, and whenever we after we set it up, we are going to create pre-shared keys. We are going to create a new wireless LAN or a new wireless local area network from this controller. And whenever we configure all that, then the lightweight access point is going to get its configuration from this wireless LAN. And there we go. We are here. So we got to this website. It is HTTP. It's not HTTPS yet. So whenever we configure all this, we are going to have to use HTTPS. But for now, we are going to be using HTTP. So as you can see, welcome. Start by creating an admin account. So I'm just going to name this admin. This one has requirements. I believe you need to have at least like an uppercase, lowercase number, and you also need to add a like an asterisk or any of those key, like an @ sign or something like that. So you can see right here, if you hover over, it tells you that it needs to be at least 6 characters and include an uppercase, lowercase, and number or special characters. Okay, so I'm going to just add this one over here. I'm not going to tell you guys so you guys don't hack my network. So there we go. Now we are in step 2. It took my configuration. So for this one, the system name, we are going to just call it the wireless local area network controller, C. The date and time is going to stay the default. The management interface is going to be the default one, 192.168.1.2. Subnet mask 255.255.255.0/24. The default gateway 192.168.1.1. We're going to keep all of that the same. The management VLAN ID is going to be the default one. Now over here, we are going to now create the Wi-Fi, the SSID name. So the SSID, we are going to call it Wi-Fi. Now you have the ability to configure WPA2 personal. WPA2 personal only asks for a pre-shared key. WPA2 Enterprise, it is going to have, you need to configure a AAA server, which we're going to be doing that later. So, but for WPA2 Enterprise, you need to configure a AAA server, and this wireless LAN controller, if you take a real one, it takes either radius or TACAX, but for packet tracer, it only allows you to configure radius, which we are going to be doing that later. But we are going to use personal, which is just a pre-shared key. And the pre-shared key, we are going to say Cisco 123, Cisco 123. Okay, now the DHCP server is just optional. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. The management, the VLAN is going to be the management. You can turn on the guest network if you want to, but we are not going to do that. We are just going to be configuring just one Wi-Fi or SSID, right? For the virtual IP address, you want to leave this as the default. So we are going to leave that as default. So that is good. As you can see, no guest network, and we didn't configure any parameter for optimization. So now we should be good. Let's go ahead and apply. So it tells you that the system will reboot after these settings are applied. Click OK to apply this configuration, or click cancel to return to the setup wizard. We are going to click OK. So this one is going to take, it says that it takes a couple minutes because it is going to reboot the wireless LAN controller. So now, since the wireless LAN controller has been configured, what we could do, we are going to just close this, and you can see now that it's going to STP, so we can go ahead and press this fast forward time, and now it is up and running. So now we should be able to access the wireless LAN controller via the web browser, but this time we need to do it using HTTPS. So HTTPS 192.168.1.2, and there we go. So now it takes you to the login page. It doesn't take you to the setup because we already set it up. Now we can go ahead and log in, and I believe it was admin and password. Let's see if I remember my password. Did it take it? There you go. So now we have login to the wireless LAN controller. So it looks the same. It is identical to a real wireless LAN controller. As you can see, it gives you a summary, which where we are right now. You can see the management IP address. You can see the software version, right? You can see the name of the system that we name, uptime, and all that good stuff. You can see like even the temperature. It is plus 31 Celsius. It gives you the CPU, individual CPU usage, memory usage. So it gives you a lot of stuff. And if we go to the access point summary, you can see that we don't have any access points configured. And that's because we haven't configured this lightweight access point yet. Because as you can see right now, it is off, but it gives you a lot of cool stuff. Everything that is grayed out, you're not able to do or configure any of those stuff. So you can see CDP is grayed out. So there's a lot of stuff that is grayed out, but for the CCNA 200-301, this gives you everything that you need. Okay, and if you go to the the wireless LANs, you can see that we have configured that one with the Wi-Fi 1. You can see the type. You can see the ID. So if you click on this ID, it will give you more information on this profile name Wi-Fi. As you can see right now, if you go over here, it gives you that the status is enabled. You got to make sure that it's enabled. We're using the management interface, security. You can see that we are using WPA2 encryption with AES, and we're not using TKIP. And if you want to enable authentication via radius, you have to configure the 802.1x, but you need to either do a pre-share key or 802.1x. You cannot do both at the same time. AAA servers, if you want to add one, you will have to go into security. You add it, and then from there it will let you add it. So we are going to do that later. And like I said, it doesn't let you add TAGX, but it does let you do radius authentication. So with that being said, let's go ahead and plug this lightweight access point. And like I said, the access point gets all the configuration from the wireless LAN controller. So if we power this on, this is the way they power it on. You have to plug in the power supply, and there we go. So let's go ahead and fast forward. And now it should be getting its configuration in a little bit. Let's go ahead and fast forward again. And there we go. It got its configuration. You can see that the gateway is 192. 168.1.1, which is this router over here. And if you hover over it, you should see that the gigabit Ethernet 0, it got an IP address of 192.168.1.6, which is the next IP address, because this one got the 192.168.1.5, this one got the 1.6, and if we plug in another one, we should be getting 192.168.1.7, which we're going to be doing later. You can see the providing wireless lanes. You can see that we got one that is called Wi-Fi. So now if we go into the smartphone and we try to connect to this lightweight access point, we should be able to do so by going into configuration, wireless, and over here you need to configure or add the SSID, and the SSID that we configured was Wi-Fi with all capital, and the configuration that we're using is WPA2 with a pre-share key. We need to enter that pre-share key. I believe it was Cisco 123. So now we should be getting a connection, and there we go. The smartphone got a connection with the AP. So now if we go into, let's see, if we just hover over it, you can see that it got a wireless 0 is up, and it got a IP address of 192.168.1.10. And if we try to, let's say, ping a couple of devices, it should let you ping the server at, let's say, ping 192.168.1.3. There we go. So you're able to ping this server right here. So let's go ahead and configure the router as well. So you should be able to ping the default gateways. Say no, enable, config T, interface gigabit. It's a gigabit 0/0. Yep, IP address 192.168.1.1, 245.205.205.0. No shutdown. And that we can go ahead and save my configuration. Now you can see that it's going to spanning tree protocol. If we fast forward, it should be up and running now. Now we are going to go back into the smartphone and we are going to ping 192.168.1.1, and we should be able to get a reply from the router. So as you can see, the smartphone is working. And also, if you want to add another access point just for redundancy purposes, you can go ahead and add that. You can add another one. So we are going to add this one to the switch, and we are going to turn it on by plugging in the power supply. You can see now that it has been connected. So now we are going to wait for it to get it set up. So actually, let's see, config. So yeah, that should be good. Now let's go ahead and just fast forward. Still doesn't have an IP address. Let's go ahead and fast forward again. And there we go. It got an IP address of 192.168.1.11. So now if this access point goes down, what's going to happen is this smartphone is going to just connect with this other access point. So let's go ahead and try that. We are going to remove this link. And the phone, as you can see, has established another connection with the other access point because this one went down. So the redundancy is added by adding another lightweight access point. And if you go over here, we should be able to ping the router still. There we go. And we should also be able to ping the server as well. There we go. Looking good. So now what we're going to be doing is we are going to configure now we are going to configure AAA from this server, and this server is going to be, we have to turn it on first. The client name, I believe I named that. Let's see what I forgot what I named this. Let's go ahead and go to the computer, and we named this. Let's go ahead and go to the wireless LAN, and we named this. What was it? Let's go ahead and go to manager. and the name was WLAN. And C. Let's go ahead and copy this. Go ahead and go into the server, and here it is. IP address of this client is 192.168.1.2. The secret is going to name, and we are going to just say Cisco 123 with a capital C. We are going to be using radius because it is unable to use taggers right now. We are going to add it. Now we are going to create a username, Cisco password 123. So that's how we are going to authenticate. Okay. So now we are going to configure that for the wireless LAN controller. Of course, we got to go to the GUI, and we are going to go to security first, so we can add that radius. So we go over here, radius authentication servers. We are going to click on or select new. The IP address of the server is 192.168.1.3. The secret is Cisco 123. We confirm it, Cisco 123. The port number, we need to use the same port number that the server is using, which is 1645. Where is it? There we go. 1645 is going to be enabled. Support for COA is going to be disabled, and we can go ahead and apply. And after we apply it, what we need to do is now go into the wireless LAN, and we need to go into that wireless LAN that we have configured, and we need to change its authentication to now use AAA and radius. So we are going to go into security layer 2, and now we are going to be using 802.1x, or we're going to disable this pre-share key, and we are going to enable 802.1x. AAA servers, we are going to go ahead and add that AAA server, radius server that we just configured. We are going to go ahead and apply it, and whenever we apply that, the smartphone has lost connection because we were using a pre-share key. So now we're not using a pre-share key. We need to now use AAA authentication, and we need to use the username that we configured, which was Cisco, and the password was 123. So we go ahead and go to this smartphone. We are going to go into config wireless, make this bigger so you can see. So we are not using this anymore. We are using WPA2 Enterprise. So we need username and password. So Cisco, and then 123. And that should eventually get connected with the lightweight access point. We are also going to plug this bad boy in. So let's give it a couple seconds. It should connect and authenticate. And if you don't want to wait, we can just go ahead and fast forward. Fast forward again, and there we go. Now we have a connection using that AAA server with the username Cisco password 123. So that is good. And if we want to ping to see if we have connectivity, we can go ahead and ping the server. Good. And we should be able to ping the Cisco router as well. There we go. So we have connectivity. Now what we could do, we can go ahead and add another smart device. And this smart device is going to have another username account. So we are going to, you can use the same username account, but I just want to create another username account. So we are going to go 888. We are going to add Cisco 1 and the same password. So you can see that it's actually working. So we are going to go to the smartphone, configuration, wireless. We are going to connect to the SSID of Wi-Fi. We are going to be using WPA2 Enterprise, Cisco 1, and password 123. So that should now connect with this access point. As you can see right now, we have a connectivity. So now we should be able to go to desktop, command prompt, ping 192.168.1.1, and we should also be able to ping that 1.3. And there we go. So it's looking like it is working. So we configure a wireless LAN controller. We configure APs. We configure to use just pre-share key. Then we configure to use AAA server, a radio server. So we were able to get all that working. And guys, if you guys enjoyed this video, why don't you guys go ahead and follow me on Twitter. And my Twitter account is CCNA Daily Tips. So if you want to go ahead and follow me on Twitter at CCNA Daily Tips if you have a Twitter account. And if you don't have a Twitter account, go ahead and create a Twitter account and then follow me on Twitter. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys on the next one. Bye bye.